Missiles launched by Iran against U.S. airbases in Iraq. Iran has launched missile strikes aimed at U.S. troops in Iraq in what it said was retaliation for the killing last week of the top Iranian general Qassem Suleimani. The Pentagon confirmed that al-Assad Air Base in Iraq's Anbar province, and Erbil base in northern Iraq, which both host a U.S. contingent, had been hit by a salvo of more than a dozen missiles launched from Iran. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC), of which Soleimani was a member, issued a statement saying, "The brave soldiers of IRGC's aerospace unit have launched a successful attack with tens of ballistic missiles on al-Assad military base in the name of martyr General Qassem Suleimani." Iranian news sites showed video footage of missiles being launched into the night sky. The White House spokeswoman Stephanie Grisham said, "We are aware of the reports of attacks on U.S. facilities in Iraq. The president has been briefed and is monitoring the situation closely and consulting with his national security team." At approximately 5:30 p.m. Washington time, 1:30 a.m. in Iraq, on January 7, Iran launched more than a dozen ballistic missiles against U.S. military and coalition forces in Iraq, a Pentagon statement said. It is clear that these missiles were launched from Iran and targeted at least 2 Iraqi military bases hosting U.S. military and coalition personnel at al-Assad and Erbil. The statement said the bases had been on high alert and that all appropriate measures had been taken to safeguard U.S. troops and partners, and that the Pentagon was still working on initial battle damage assessments. "As we evaluate the situation and our response, we will take all necessary measures to protect and defend U.S. personnel, partners, and allies in the region. Due to the dynamic nature of the situation, we will continue to provide updates as they become available." The al-Assad base has previously been a target of an Iranian-backed Shia militia, Kataib Hezbollah, whose attacks on U.S. and coalition troops triggered tit-for-tat strikes that culminated in the drone strike. Earlier in the day, the Secretary of Iran's National Security Council, Ali Shamkhani, said 13 revenge scenarios were being considered in the wake of the assassination of Qassem Suleimani, the head of Iran's elite Quds force, and that even the most limited options would be a historic nightmare for the U.S. Ali Shamkhani told the Tasnim news agency, "The 27 U.S. bases that are closest to Iran's border are already on high alert. They know that the response is likely to include medium-range and long-range missiles." Trump responded to Iranian threats in remarks to the press at the White House, "We're totally prepared. And likewise, we're prepared to attack if we have to," he said. But he appeared to draw back from his earlier threats to target Iranian cultural sites, a potential war crime. "If that's what the law is, I like to obey the law," he said, but he added, "They kill our people, they blow up our people, and then we have to be very gentle with their cultural institutions. But I'm okay with it. I will say this, if Iran does anything that they shouldn't be doing, they're going to be suffering the consequences and very strongly." Trump said his long-term intention was withdraw the 5,200 U.S. troops currently in Iraq, but not right away as the Iraqi government and parliament have demanded. "I think we've done a fantastic job, but eventually, we want to be able to let Iraq run its own affairs," he said. "We want to get out. But this isn't the right point." When the U.S. did leave, the president insisted, Iraq would have to reimburse Washington for the infrastructure investments Washington has made over a nearly 17-year presence. U.S. allies have already begun leaving Baghdad, which was buzzing as night fell with helicopters flying in and out of the city's fortified diplomatic district, known as the Green Zone. Canada, which currently leads the NATO training mission, said it was pulling out some of its 500 troops, and Germany said its presence in Iraq would be temporarily thinned out. Most of the NATO troops withdrawing were reported to be heading for Kuwait. The US-led coalition to counter ISIS is also repositioning its forces to lessen their vulnerability to attack. Britain's Defense Secretary, Ben Wallace, said that non-essential personnel were being moved from Baghdad to Taji, about 19 miles 30 kilometers to the north. The Iranian Foreign Minister, Javad Zarif, earlier insisted the Iranian response to U.S. state terrorism would be proportionate, and not conducted by surrogate forces. "This is an act of aggression against Iran, and it amounts to an armed attack against Iran, and we will respond. But we will respond proportionately, not disproportionately. We are not lawless like President Trump," Zarif said, adding that the attack would occur at the time of Iran's choosing. "Unlike the United States, we do not take cowardly terrorist acts," he said. "When we do it, we will declare it." The U.S. Defense Secretary, Mark Esper, said the U.S. would prefer a diplomatic solution. "We're prepared for the worst. We hope that cooler heads in Tehran will prevail and de-escalate the situation," Esper told CNN. "We are not looking to start a war with Iran, but we are prepared to finish one. What we would like to see is the situation de-escalated and for Tehran to sit down with us and begin a discussion about a better way ahead." In a further sign that the Trump administration was anxious to find a way of diffusing the brewing conflict, Bloomberg News reported that Pompeo sent a cable to all U.S. embassies on Tuesday ordering diplomats not to meet Iranian opposition groups without permission, explaining that it could jeopardize diplomacy with Iran's government. The Trump administration did little to clarify the confusion that arose on Monday over its intentions in Iraq. Pentagon officials had said that a letter sent to the Iraqi government from the U.S. task force commander in Iraq, announcing a troop departure, had been a draft released by mistake. Iraq's acting Prime Minister, Adel Abdul Mahdi, however, insisted that the letter had been signed and that it had initially been sent back to the U.S. commander over a translation query, and then it had been redelivered with a corrected translation. "They said it's a draft. Okay, it's a draft. But we received it. As a state, how are we supposed to act? We should get a second letter to clarify so we can clarify to our people too." Abdul Mahdi, who resigned in November but has stayed on in a caretaker role, said, according to Agence France Presse, "If I don't trust you and you don't trust me, how are we supposed to proceed?" In a pre-recorded television address he insisted the U.S. would have to leave. "We have no exit but this, otherwise we are speeding toward confrontation," Abdul Mahdi said, adding that Iraq would have to take a historic decision to implement the expulsion. "Otherwise we will not be taken seriously," he added. Visit https://www.theguardian.com if you're able to. Please support The Guardian today from as little as $1. For more additional guidelines about Alive and Contented, please subscribe, hit the notification bell and share this video. Thank you.